focused on the Republican race to challenge President Obama and a tricky day for Mitt Romney after his tax records were finally released. They show that he received $45 million in income over the past 2 years. He paid just over $6 million in tax. That is an effective tax rate of 13.9% in 2010, well below the rate that most Americans pay. The reason for this is because much of his income is derived from capital gains on his investments. He did give $7 million to charity in the same period, and about half of that amount went to his church, the Mormon Church. Let's join Raheem Kassam now, who's executive editor of the Commentator website. How do you think this looks for Mr. Romney?
Well, it looks terrible for Mitt Romney. It's basically the reality for him. Newt Gingrich's campaign has been very clever lately, and that's taking the millions that have been donated by some very wealthy backers in the US and targeting them at some very vitriolic ads at Mitt Romney. What this effectively means now is that Mitt Romney is in a corner, he's in a box, and he's got two options now. Does he fight back? Does he say, well, Newt, you're also guilty of taking a lot of money from people, of earning a lot of money from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and these government contracts he's had in the past? Or does Mitt ignore it like he's been ignoring a lot of the attack ads on him in the past and just hope that things go sort of plain sailing for him? I think what we're seeing at the moment is that it's not going plain sailing. The waters are very choppy. He's got a lot of work to do ahead of him.
Unless you're an American, for instance, who thinks that he's a very successful person, good for him to do so well and to save so much on his taxes.
Well, absolutely. There is that argument, and a lot of the Republican base will be sympathetic to that argument. Legal avoidance of tax they'll see as virtuous, not a vice. But the problem is for him is that it's not so much that he's been paying very little in tax or that he's avoiding it or so on and so forth. It's actually the way he earned his money that he paid the tax on. Newt Gingrich has established this idea of vulture capitalism. That is that Mitt Romney has actually taken more from the American people than he's giving back, and now he wants this prestigious job in the White House, and it's not going to cut it. People are seeing through Mitt Romney's past, or at least calling into question a lot of the things he's done in his past when he worked at Bain Capital, earning those millions and millions of dollars, effectively axing jobs.
Is there also something tricky in this for Newt Gingrich? Because although he paid more taxes on his income in the last couple of years than Mitt Romney did, I mean, the rate that he paid was high. He does want to reduce taxes on capital gains. So Mitt Romney would pay less taxes if he became president.
Right, but I think when it comes to getting the Republican base behind you, cutting capital gains tax is actually going to attract both donations and votes. So Newt has positioned himself well in that regard. He's also managed to skip over all the allegations into his own past, being a philanderer, leaving his wife who had cancer, asking for an open marriage, all of these things that he's done in the past that the Republican base, if we can read into the 40% that he recently got in South Carolina, have forgiven him for. So while Newt is in a dangerous position, given some of the things he's advocating, effectively the party and the base that he's attracting at the ballot box see him as the anti-establishment candidate, and I think farcically as the anti-establishment candidate, because he's been a Beltway insider for so long, a DC insider, and his tactics of hacking and away at Mitt Romney's persona actually shows that he's well versed at the campaign tactics of dirty Washington politics.
It's going to get more and more interesting from this point. Thanks very much indeed, Raheem Kassam. And actually, there's lots of interest in this story about Mitt Romney's taxes on the BBC website, where you can actually read his tax records in full if you're so inclined.